The Avalanche come crashing down. Welcome to NHL Wraparound Stanley Cupdate for Saturday, May 23rd, 2026. Vic and Neil on this Memorial Day weekend in the States. When we previewed the Western Conference Final last week, Craig Button, our good friend, made note of the Vegas Golden Knights being accustomed to playing without their captain, Mark Stone. And he said they can win with, they can win without. For the Colorado Avalanche, who again were without Cale Makar, they're struggling here. And now they have to win at least 2 games in Vegas in order to reach the final.
Yeah, it was another game where Colorado could not exhibit the fantastic offensive team that they have and were basically shut right down other than the 1 goal early in the game. I'm not sure it's all because Cale Makar isn't there, but I'm sure that the 30 minutes of ice time that he takes up every game gives the other players on the team confidence that they've got all this firepower. And he is probably the number 1 quarterback in the National Hockey League as far as premier defenseman goes. So it's a huge loss. It's only his 3rd playoff game he's ever missed. And 2 of those 3 have been in this series, and those 2 have been losses to Vegas. So Jared Bednar and his group of players, if they're going to be without Makar again for game 3 in Vegas, they're going to have to figure this out.
We thought they had it figured out for a good portion of this game. Both teams had pretty good chances in the first period. Good goaltending by Scott Wedgwood and Carter Hart. Mitch Marner had a breakaway and a rebound stopped by Wedgwood with about 6:15 left in the first period. And then Brent Burns with a shot from the right point. It caroms off defenseman Caden Korzak, and it's Ross Colton banging in the rebound at 16:59 in the first, and that gave Colorado the 1-0 lead.
And that also gave Colorado a first period goal, something that they have been doing very rarely in these playoffs.
Scott Wedgwood also stopped Pavel Dorofeev late in the first, and then it looked like Vegas might be without defenseman Braden McNabb for the rest of the game after he left following a collision with Sam Malinsky, but was able to return in the third period, which was kind of odd that he would just miss the middle frame. But anyway, second period, Neil, I thought Colorado had better zone time. I thought, much like the Avs were in game 1, Vegas had a lot of one and done, and there wasn't a lot of sustained pressure.
No, there wasn't. And Colorado basically took over, certainly on the shot clock. And by the end of the second period, it looked like it was only a matter of time before the Avs would skate off with this series tied up.
They got a scare of their own late in the second period when defenseman Josh Manson tried to hit Ivan Barbashev and wound up going face first into the board. But like McNabb, he returned for the third period as well. And early in the third, it was Wedgwood again stopping Marner in close on a power play, but then an errant pass in the offensive zone by the Avalanche, a 3-on-2 results, and it's Jack Eichel. A shot from right wing circle goes far side and ties the game at 9:15.
And it was a beautiful shot by Eichel. And funny part was that they'd been talking about Eichel being a pass-first centerman, and the right-handed shooting Eichel came down the right side and was able to hit just inside the left post on the far side. It was a beautiful goal, a beautiful shot, and for all the talk about how he doesn't shoot the puck, that was a pretty good one.
It's so funny watching this game because I never got the feeling that Vegas was right there. And at the same time, if you're the Avalanche, that 1-goal lead is so precarious in the third period.
It is. And I guess the thing that was bothering me the most about the Avalanche is no goals from McKinnon and no goals from Natchez. And that is bothersome because we're so used to the highest goal scorer in the league being Nathan McKinnon, being able to at least show that it had to be a miraculous save to stop him, and it wasn't that way. Those are the big guys on this team, and we do know that Nate just only has one goal in the entire playoffs. So without him putting the puck in the back of the net, without Makar in the lineup, without McKinnon able to find the back of the net, it leaves it up to almost secondary scoring for the Avs.
And, of course, that's what happened with their only goal in the game. So on that game-tying goal by Eichel, Dorofeev and Barbashev both get assists. And just 127 seconds later, this trio combines again to put Vegas ahead. An attempted clear by Devon Taves hits Dorofeev, caroms to Eichel, touch pass to Barbashev in the high slot, and it's 2-1 with 8:38 left.
And stunning to that crowd at the Ball Center in Denver. And right here, it looks like, what are we going to do now?
I thought as the game wound down, Colorado did have some zone time, but Vegas never allowed them to really get on the inside. They pulled Scott Wedgwood with 2:58 left. Hart had to make one big save on Brock Nelson in close, but it's Barbashev with his third point of the game hitting the empty net with 63 seconds left. This is a 2-0 series lead for Vegas.
And it's scary, even though you're sitting there and you have no dog in the fight. You're just watching this stuff. It is scary when a team is able to take both games at the beginning of a series from the opposition.
So it's regroup time for the Avalanche as this series shifts over to Vegas. Game 3, Sunday, 8 o'clock on ESPN. We don't know Makar's status. And you're going into enemy territory where now you've got to win at least 2 games. You haven't gotten the frontline scoring that you had mentioned before. So if you're Jared Bednar, you've got to do kind of what Vegas did in the first game. That's get through those first 10 minutes, get the crowd settled back a little bit, and then start to execute a very disciplined game.
Absolutely. You've got to hope that your guys can come out and get that early goal like they did in the game at home, game number 2, because you want to get that crowd out of the game. You want to get Vegas back on their heels. And the other thing we don't talk about, but you want to expose Carter Hart. You want to find some holes in him. He has played outstanding in these 2 games, just outstanding. You've got to find a way to solve him. I think that's another thing that we don't talk about.
I think part of this is also Vegas is not allowing a lot of secondary chances here. So if he's seeing the puck, he's stopping it. And I think for Vegas, you're home. You've got the showy glitz going on at T-Mobile Arena. But I think Tortorella is the perfect coach here to make sure that his team stays grounded because, as we all know, teams try to show off a little bit more in their own building. And even though this is a very veteran group, Torts is the kind of coach that is going to remind them, stick to what got us here.
You could go back right now and look at their home win-loss record. It's not fantastic. But then again, Tortorella wasn't there during that home record this season other than the very end. So it's hard to judge it on that too. So, even if Colorado Avalanche can come out of it with a split, they're still in deep trouble because they're down 3-1 and they have to run the table after that.
Of course, it'll be interesting to see now with a 2-0 lead if the Golden Knights hold Mark Stone out until at least game 4. He did skate prior to game number 2, but now for every game and every day that the Golden Knights can stay ahead in this series, it buys him that much more time.
For sure. And as Craig Button said, and you quoted at the beginning of this show, they've learned how to win with Stone, obviously, and they've learned how to win without him. And I was thinking the other day of how the Ottawa Senators really helped the Vegas Golden Knights become who they are. They've won 1 Stanley Cup already with Stone as the captain, and they might win a second one. And he was at one time an Ottawa Senator, and they traded him to Vegas.
Once again, Game 3, Sunday, 8 o'clock Eastern on ESPN. On Saturday, it's 7 o'clock on TNT. Carolina Hurricanes look to draw even with the Montreal Canadiens after the Habs dominated in a 6-2 win in Game 1. Now, you have often said that the team that loses is the one that has to make the bigger adjustments. However, if you're Marty St. Louis, you pretty much know you're going to get a more disciplined version of the Carolina Hurricanes in Game 2. They're going to try to get the pucks in deep. So you know what's coming from them, because Game 1 for Carolina was so against everything that we have seen with this team. So for St. Louis, I think it's also a matter of trying to step out in front of what the changes Carolina is going to make for the second game.
I think so, but you can only control your own team. You can only control your own game plan. Carolina is not going to make the kind of critical errors that they made in Game 1 where they just look completely disjointed. They're going to come out a lot more together. They're going to have complete commitment to whatever Rod Brind'Amour has told them that they need to do in this game. And if the Montreal Canadiens can hold on tight and do what they've done in the past and jump on opportunities and put the puck in the net on certain opportunities that they will get, then they could come out of this. The other thing we got to take into consideration, I don't know how much you think of this, but Carolina is watching the game last night. They're watching Colorado go down 2-0 at home. Colorado was a preemptive favorite to win the Stanley Cup this year. Everybody knows that. Not everybody thought they would, but they would have had the vast majority of people thinking they're going to win. If you're Carolina, you're going like, we have a legitimate chance now to win the Stanley Cup. We're the second best regular season team in this thing, and the first best one is down 0-2. So there's got to be some motivation there as well. Just remembering what it was like in 94 and seeing who was coming through. And when Vancouver beats Toronto, you're like, holy crap, we get to play Vancouver.
You said crap?
Yeah, I tried to be Roger Nielsen-ish.
All right. Well, here's what I'm looking at from the other side of the coin here from Carolina. I think that if Montreal continues to use their speed, and they're not just flipping pucks out of the zone, but they are genuinely attacking, whether or not Carolina starts to chase them around the way they did in Game 1. I don't think they will, but they might. And if Montreal should get on top of this game, also remember that in the first two series that the Hurricanes played against the Senators and the Flyers, there was very little adversity that they had to deal with. They did have to play 3 overtime games in those first 2 rounds, but if they go down in this game, I want to see how composed this team stays.
Yeah, and they're going to have to stay very composed. In the playoffs, you always do. You have to try to brush off all the distractions.
That will wrap up our show for today. Just a reminder that Stanley Cupdate returns on Sunday because Neil and I don't take any days off here. We'll recap Game 2 between the Hurricanes and Canadiens and also look ahead to Game 3 of the Golden Knights and Avalanche. But also on Sunday at 12 noon Eastern, our 100th NHL Wraparound. So tune in for the discussion that Neil and I had with NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman that we recorded just a few days ago.
And it was a great one, and it was a lot of fun, and it was really a good, entertaining 30 minutes of conversation between us and Gary.
2 shows for the price of 1 tomorrow. We hope you'll tune in. Enjoy the hockey on Saturday.